right, Joe Casey with Casey Aviation, and I've got Matt Courtney with me. Matt, thanks for joining the Malibu Guru podcast.
Well, thanks for having me again.
All right, let's look up. We got the word of the day. The word of the day is curate, or have a curated experience. So the definition of curate, one definition, is to select, organize, and present, typically using a professional or an expert knowledge. So to use the word in a sentence, nearly every major news organization is using Twitter's new list feature to curate tweets about the earthquake. Curate. It's a fun word. It's a cool word. And I've used this word more often in the last year. And every time I think about a curated experience or to curate something, it's just a bunch of fun to think about how that applies. And so we get to talk today about a curated experience, and we're going to dovetail it back into aviation.
Good stuff.
So how do you have a curated, the whole idea behind here's where this came from, is I went on a trip to the Bahamas. And on the fifth day of being in the Bahamas, I realized I had not yet seen the ocean.
Oh, were you at a all-inclusive resort or?
Thank you very much.
Okay,
it was one of these all-inclusive resorts, and it was kind of away, and they had a swimming pool, and they had the music, and they had people, and it was adult only, which means no kids. Okay, it was lovely, and they had shows, and they had different things. And 5 days I'm into this thing, and I had yet to even see the ocean, and I'm sitting on the Bahamas. And matter of fact, we walked from there over to this bigger all-inclusive resort place that had a casino. And the weirdest thing, I remember thinking about this. I was inside the building, huge, a place called Atlantis, which is over in the Bahamas. And you walk down halls where there's aquariums above you, beside you, this huge aquarium where you're like meandering, walking through a pathway that has a tunnel of glass as you're looking at fish swimming around. Now, although there was a swimming pool or just a big aquarium, huge aquarium that had all kind of sea life inside there, but this is not the ocean. I didn't see the ocean for 5 days, and I felt just as weird as I could possibly be.
Felt organized, but not organized by you.
It wasn't organized. It was organized by the way they wanted it to be. You know, what was weird about it as well is they had curated the financial aspects of it. And so what I mean by this is if you go out in the Bahamas with $10, you can do just about anything. You can eat anywhere. It's not an expensive play. You can, if you go out on the economy, it's not going to be great and fine and nice. It's going to be definitely lesser in terms of first world, and things are going to be cheaper. You can get you a hat for $10, a shirt for $10, a meal for $10. You go over here to this curated experience at Atlantis, and you can't buy a shirt for less than $150. You can't get a meal for less than $40. They owned just about the entire island. So once you cross the bridge to go to this island, you are on their turf in their way, and you're going to see the world in the way they want you to see it.
Sure. I've seen it too. It's like a flow of cattle almost, but the tourists are the cattle. And it's from one money pit to the next a lot of times. And
that's right. It's like you have a ring on your nose that you're being led where they want you to go. They have created the experience they want you to have. And if you don't want that experience, then you are just out as far as that. Or don't go there because you're going to do that curated experience.
Sure, and sometimes that's great. It's definitely easier for planning purposes, but the most fun trips I've ever had is when you just wander. And I'm not saying to wander into the deep parts of Tijuana to try to find a good taco. That might not work out, but getting off the beaten path and making your own plans and learning the actual culture and seeing what the country's actually about is oftentimes way more fun.
Yeah, give me an example of a time where you've been away on a trip and not had a curated experience.
Sure. Well, we love going to Mexico, my wife and I, and we've been to numerous places, but all inclusive. And like you said, it's curated and it's planned. Every event's planned, from your excursions to what you eat. And this past year we went to Cozumel and decided, well, we're just going to do Airbnb. We're going to rent a car and we're going to drive where the actual people live and kind of see what they do. And go to their grocery stores, their restaurants, not the tourist restaurants. And it's amazing the 20-mile difference from the tourist strip, what dinner there costs versus a wonderful street taco in the center of Cozumel. We never felt unsafe. It was $5 versus $55 per plate, and we had a ball. That's how we plan on doing every trip from here on out.
And here's the point. That's what you plan on doing. It takes you a little more time, a little more energy to plan it out, to figure out what the dates are and where you're going to go and how you're going to eat, how you're going to do all this kind of, how do you drink the water that's safe and not, you see what I'm saying?
Sure. Still learning on that part.
A curated experience is easier to plan because you pretty much buy the ticket, buy the pass to this all-inclusive resort, and you pretty much just, you're being led by a herd of cattle to where they want you to go in the manner and if you want to go there, it's great if that's what you want. But you're not one time me and Deanna went on a trip to the Dominican Republic. We had two friends of ours that went there, and neither one of us had been to the Dominican Republic for long periods of time, just merely stopovers. And we landed there, got in the car, drove it's probably a 30-minute drive to the resort, and you're driving through not very nice areas and not very pretty. And you get to the resort, and it was absolutely fabulous. And then we came back, and stayed there a week or 5 days or whatever it was, drove back, saw the same lesser areas, got on the airplane, flew away. Did we see the Dominican Republic? And the answer is, I would say, yes, but not really.
The parts they wanted you to see.
You didn't see the Dominican Republic culture. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
So the culture, it depends on what. So it's almost like if you have a curated experience, then there's a different culture that's being established there. I tell you, it's interesting. The next thing that made me think of this is that we just got through going on a trip with two of our best friends. We really enjoy these people. They're great. And they own a Malibu, and we went to Cabo San Lucas, and lovely trip. And it was lovely in a lot of ways, but there's two experiences that came up. One, when we were flying in, as we were flying into Cabo San Lucas, I was in the back of the airplane, weirdly, but I was in the back and was able to look down on the ground like just the whole time, and you could see the places that were curated. You could see the places where down by the marina, where the arch is, where the big mountains are, and very nice, and boats and all that. 90% of the rest of the country was very much Mexico, meaning much lower housing, dirty, electrical wires going everywhere. You just look down and
lesser infrastructure.
Way lesser infrastructure, a way lower standard of living, poverty as you come, and went right into the airport. Of course, we went over to the Cabo San Lucas Marina area and had a lovely day. And it was all fun and nice. I'll give you another example. We went fishing. And I say we went fishing. We had a boat. There's 4 of us on the boat. It wasn't that big of a boat, but we had a guide that was leading us out. By the way, we caught some rooster fish, which turned out to be just a whole bunch of fun. But the guy would cast the line out. The boat's moving. You're dragging the thing through the water. The fish hits the lure or the live bait, whichever you got. The line begins to go out. It goes zzz, it's starting to zing. The guy goes over there, sets the drag, sets the hook. He fights for the fish for a second, and then hands you the rod, and you sit there and reel that thing in. And at the end of this, I was thinking, I'm not going fishing. I'm just reeling. I didn't.
Like how we take kids fishing here.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the flip side of that is I got to go on an elk hunt recently up to Canada. And here there was no curation whatsoever, meaning they weren't doing anything for me as far as making it nice, making it prettier, making it easier for me. It literally was, I carry my gun, my backpack, all my stuff. I'm carrying everything with me. He's carrying his stuff, the guy that was guiding me. And we basically went and spent 10 days in the Canadian wilderness. Well, there was no curation. There was nothing. There was nothing pre-planned. They hadn't trained the elk. They didn't have. There were no fences up. They were keeping the big elk in a certain area. It was totally uncurated.
Go where the elk goes. The guide doesn't even know the plan for the next day sometimes.
That's exactly right. And which one do I like better? I like the non-curated event for me most of the time. Now, I will tell you, there's some of the times that I like a curated event. Now, I'll give you a good example for this. It would be Deanna and I went on a cruise one time we went to Seattle, got on a boat and went up to Alaska and stopped at 3 or 4 places on the way up to Alaska. Absolutely lovely experience. And we had a wonderful time, completely curated, meaning you were going to shows and you eat at the time they put the food out. You eat what food they put out. Of course, there's a lot of it and very varied. So it was, you got to eat whatever you want, but totally 100% curated. And the question then became, which cruise line do you like? Because they curate it differently. Now, so if you go down this road, you end up with, if you go to Carnival Cruise, let me just tell you, it's going to be a party. There's going to be lots of younger people. There's going to be scantily clad women. There's going to be more alcohol consumed and more craziness by the pool than you can ever imagine. If you go to one of the other cruise lines, Holland America or something, it's going to be a little more expensive, but it's going to be very much a non-party event. And it's going to be, the curation is different. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Curation is different. So in your opinion, which one would you rather go to?
Depends if we have children with us or not, I guess.
There you go. There you go. If you got the kids, then which one do you go to? But would you rather go to a curated or a non-curated?
Trip wise, I love a non-curated trip just for the experiences of it. But there are times when you just want everything handled for you. Curated is great.
Yeah. So it all depends. So let's round this out into aviation. We get to curate the experience that we have around our airplane. Now, what I mean by that is we get to decide what experience others have. We get to curate either a safe culture around what we do, or we get to curate a non-safe, or one that's pleasant, one that's not. I tell people all the time, our teammates that we have here, that we have a culture of chalking. In other words, and I went out and bought a whole bunch of chalks, the rope chalks. Matter of fact, it's called rope chalk. If you ever want to, I don't get paid a dime for these things.
Good plug, though.
It's a good plug. We love the rope chalks because you can go out to an airplane and just swing the rope around the tire, and it's a beautiful thing. Rope chalk. Go look it up. And if you're with rope chalk, so you can send me a free rope because I plugged you guys. But it's rope chalk. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful device. But so much so that we have a policy that if we find an airplane that's not chalked, and
$5 in the jar.
$5 in the jar.
I've paid it a few times.
Yeah, we have a jar that basically allows that. And so we set up a culture of chalking because I don't want an airplane rolling somewhere. So give me another thing where we can set the culture even around here.
I think culture for passengers is something that people don't pay enough attention to. So if you're taking someone somewhere, it doesn't an organized cruise or vacation. The organization gives you some comfort when you get to a new place, especially a new country. And if you show up and nobody's at the front desk, and it's kind of frustrating, and you don't get good feelings right from the jump. With a flight, if your passenger beats you to the airport, and this could be you're just flying your friends somewhere, but you still want to be comfortable and feel confident that you're capable of what you're about to do. Showing up early, having the plane out, having your pre-check done, your pre-flight done, just those little simple things. By showing up 30 minutes early, I feel provides a lot of comfort to the average passenger coming along with you.
100%. And that's from a comfort standpoint. Matter of fact, there's two things I'll dog pile onto that thing. Turning the air conditioner on like a ground power air conditioner. Like, in other words, like we have a air conditioner thing on a little cart that we can pre-cool the airplane. Has nothing to do with aircraft power. It's purely cooling the airplane prior to that, or putting the airplane in the shade if you don't have, before you just let it bake in the sun and then tell everybody to get on board. put it in the shade, put an air conditioner unit on it, and let that airplane be nice and cool. Or I know of a company, matter of fact, I can't say a name right now, but I'm very excited. There's a company out there that's making basically heating pads for the back of a PA46. So when you can preheat the inside of the airplane prior to them showing up. If you live in a cold environment, that can be a game changer, as far as that's concerned. So there's some cool things that are happening out there that you can do, from having snacks in your airplane, maybe some water in your airplane, doing things that make it. But not only well, those are nice and make it easy, but there's also a culture of safety. Let's talk about that.
The safety, as far as making things nice, is I look at it if I was on a trip one time flying a 182 and I showed up a little bit late and I've got to clean everything out of the back seat. People are waiting on me and I feel like I'm skipping steps because I didn't go up early enough. I didn't have the airplane completely ready before they got there. Now I'm rushed trying to get a clearance.
Couldn't check your tire pressure.
Yeah, didn't go through the full pre-flight like I should because I was worried about providing the comfort over providing the safety.
So things like getting there early, this culture of when somebody's experiencing it or when you're experiencing it, I'll give you another one. I took off in somebody's airplane. I was supposed to go pick up their airplane and fly it back to Lufkin. And I didn't have much time. It was cold. And I didn't go inside there and set up the airplane in my flightplan.com. Didn't have the airplane preset in there. So when it came time to file in the flight plan, I forgot. And here I remember barreling down the runway, took off, got up, and thankfully it was a 3,000 overcast. I had plenty of time to level off, call up flight service on the radio, figure out how to file a flight plan, it was a disaster as far as, me being prepared, but all it was me being in a rush, me being in a too much of a hurry and not having all my ducks in a row. Setting up the culture, or in this case, I'm curating a culture, setting up things so that for safety. Let me give you another one that we do. We have whenever you put the gear down, we always advise clients, put the gear down and leave your finger on the gear handle until you see 3 green lights and you check your brakes. Why? Because I don't want to put the gear down and then I tell you, I can do this on training. I can go up to the day-night switch. I can go to night and then turn the switch off. And then when somebody goes up and during a training event, they'll put the gear down and inevitably they'll not see 3 green lights. It all sounds the same. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there they come into land. All I got to do is, did you get 3 at about 100 feet? You see 3 green lights? And
panic sets.
Oh my gosh. Because they never came back and looked. Well, I'm curating an experience by being able to say, I have a culture, I have a way for me to be able to set this up where when I put the gear down, I don't take my finger off that gear until I see 3 green lights and check my brakes. I need my brakes prior to landing. I need to make sure I'm setting that up as a part of my safety. So a curated experience, so it's up to a pilot to be able to curate something, both safety and passenger comfort. Seemed like a good thing to be able to do.
Sure, and you also curate the environment of safety around, especially like around our hangar. We have new people starting between maintenance and avionics and just wing walking, for example. For the new guys, that we've got people that were never around airplanes that are learning and they don't know anything different because that's the curated environment when they come in. They're not going to move an airplane without somebody watching each wing.
That's right.
We jokingly call it the $1 million shuffle when we have to move 4 or 5 airplanes and every little ding is going to be a big problem. So the curated environment for wing walkers and chalks is infectious around here.
That's right. So much so that if we see an airplane moving outside, most people, all our offices look to the inside with windows. If airplanes moving, we'll go out there and make sure that somebody's looking because we've curated a culture that is that we think is important. We never want to have a wing ding. We never want to run an airplane into another one. It can be a huge expense. You curate that. You make that. So I guess the word of the day is curate. Creating a curated experience, whether you do or don't like it in your hotels and your vacation plans or your hunting or fishing experiences. It's up to you. You get to decide if you want a curated or a non-curated event. But What you really want to do is set up a curated event for your flying, both for your safety and your passenger comfort. And I just think that's super important.
Sure. And it's every pilot's responsibility to curate his own.
That's
So
right.
if yours is bad, it's on you right now.
That's on you. You get to set that up. Matt Courtney with Joe Casey and the Malibu Guru podcast. We appreciate you showing up here to talk about curation and creating a curated experience. And I hope you're creating something and curating an experience that other people are going to like and that contributes to safety. Joe Casey, Matt Courtney,
Thanks for having
signing
me.
out.